Welcome back, guys, to day 16 of the TryHackMe Cyber Admin 2024. Appreciate you guys following along so far. We're almost to the finish line. We got about 8 days more that we're going to be posting. So if you're liking everything so far, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you can follow along and get notified. Hit that like button to support me. And if you gain any value, make sure to share it with a friend or two. Let's get right into it. So today's learning objectives, we got Azure, right? So we're going to be learning a little bit about Azure, how a tenant looks, how to navigate it, how to use the Azure Cloud Shell. And then we're going to be doing an investigation because there was a breach in the Azure tenant for Wareville. So let's go ahead and get the story going. So it was too late. McSkitty's eyelids felt as though they had dumbbells attached to them. The sun had long since waved goodbye to Wareville, and the crisp night air was creeping in through the window of McSkitty's office. If only there was a substance which would both warm and wake her up. Once McSkitty's brain cells had started functioning again, and remembered that coffee existed, checking her watch, she was saddened to learn it was too late to get her coffee from her favorite Wareville coffee house, Splunkin' Donuts. Sounds familiar. The vending machine downstairs would have to do. Sipping her coffee, McSkitty immediately lit up and charged back into the office, ready to crack the case. However, as she entered, the glitch had an idea of his own. He'd got it, and figured out that an attack vector the user had likely taken. McSkitty took a seat next to Glitch, and he began to walk through it. So, like I mentioned, we're going to be doing some Azure stuff today. Essentially, for those of you that don't know what Azure is Microsoft's cloud computing solution. What they're going to do here is introduce us to some key concepts for Azure that we need to know just so that we can grasp the info that we're going to be going over today. So, like I mentioned, Azure is a cloud service provider by Microsoft. The other ones that are most commonly known are AWS, Amazon Web Services, and GCP, Google Cloud Provider. So the Azure KeyVault, what a KeyVault is in the cloud, is essentially a place where companies can store their secrets, so like login credentials or API keys or passphrases or passwords, things like this. And it's kept in there securely so they can use it across the cloud to log into applications or services when necessary. So that's what the Key Vault is used for. Microsoft Entra ID, that is essentially the identity and access management tool that is in Azure that Microsoft provides. So think of it like Active Directory, but in the cloud. That's essentially what Microsoft Entra ID is for managing user access control, user accounts, roles, permissions, all that good stuff. Here we go. We're going into an assumed breach scenario. So in this setup, the mindset is to assess how far an attacker can go once they get inside your network, including all possible attack paths that could branch out from the defined starting point of intrusion. So this is like kind of white box pen testing right now. They're pretty much already inside the network and they're trying to see how far they can get starting from like a user account, for example. And this is a common thing that companies will do. They'll do an external and they'll also do an internal is what they usually call it. So external is like seeing if all the vulnerabilities from an outside perspective. Internal is seeing all the vulnerabilities of once they get inside. So all we're going to need today is the cloud instance, which you can start up by clicking cloud details. You click join lab and then it'll give you your login credentials and it'll open up in a new tab. You'll have to do the login. If it says your credentials are wrong, all you got to do is come here, get your credentials, and re-sign in. That's all you got to do. So don't worry, don't freak out. And then once we do log in, we want to make sure that our region and everything is English. So let's just go ahead and make sure. Everything is in English already. So I'm assuming it worked. So we're good. All right, back to the home. And then we have some terms here. So we have the Cloud Shell, which is a browser-based command line interface that provides, a CLI for the Azure instance. And then Azure CLI is a command line tool for managing and configuring Azure resources. The main difference between these two is this one is you have to log into the cloud instance to actually access this, and then this one is you can download a tool on your desktop to allow you to connect via CLI to the Azure instance. So we're gonna boot that up. We're gonna load into a bash instance, and we should look something like this here. So let's go ahead and do that. It's gonna be this icon right here. Click that. Click bash. We're gonna select, should auto-populate here. It's gonna be that one, the AOC. And then we will apply. And then I'm just gonna make this a little bigger. This is as high as we can, oh no, we can go all the way. But I'll just leave it like this. Settings, we'll do large text size. All right, boom, and we're loaded in. Obviously, it's a CLI instance, so we're gonna be using command line interface commands. What you can do if you wanted to know what commands there are, you can type help. Let's see, built-in help. And it gives you all the commands you can do. But we're just gonna clear. All right, so let's continue on. So what we're gonna do is run this command right here. And this is going to show us all the users that are authenticated to the Azure portal or have authenticated. So let's go ahead and run that. We'll go over here, boom. And we get one user. So looks like we only have one user that's authenticated. Oh wait, so yeah, we're looking at signed in users. So this is the only user that's signed in right now to the Azure instance. So yep, we got the same output. All right, and we're gonna start our investigation right here. When Glitz got a hold of an initial account in Wareville's Azure tenant, he had no idea what was inside it, so he decided to enumerate first the existing users and groups within the tenant. So right now we're doing, the assumed breach scenario, right? So right now we're acting as if we are the attacker. We have our foothold, which is a user compromise, which you can consider this our user compromised. And now what we're doing is we're looking how to escalate privilege or even move laterally within the cloud or within the tenant. So what we're going to do here is we're going to see what users are in the tenant right now. We can have an AD user list. It's going to take a second. So you got to spell out user. So we're trying to do that same thing. I'm just gonna pull this all the way up. Put an E in there, and run that again, and it should work this time. Yep, there we go. So we got Utani, we got McSkitty's user, we got Mare malware, we got user hardware, freeware, firmware. We got this right here, which is backupware, and this is interesting. It looks like a password, so let's keep that in the back of our heads. Now we've enumerated all the users that are in this instance, that are in the Entra ID, so we could pretty much see if we can compromise any of these users, but we're going to go back to the investigation, make sure we're following along. So they break down the command here. So AZ is Azure, and then AD is Active Directory, user is user, and then list. So essentially what we're saying is list all the Active Directory users out so that we can see who's in the instance essentially. And then here you can see AZ-H or AZ group-H to see more parameters and stuff and how you can use those commands better, and different options and stuff you can program in there. So we're gonna do a better view. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna follow McSkitty's suggestion to only look for accounts prepended with WV user, so Wareville user. According to her, these accounts are more interesting than the other ones. To do this, we'll use the filter parameter, filter for all accounts that starts with W user. So we're pretty much going to do this right here. So we'll copy that and do that and enter. Boom. All right, and let's see. Yeah, so greatly reduced our query here. This is something that's really important when you're doing investigations or acting like, you know, what we're doing here is being as specific as possible with your queries, because it's going to get you what you want a lot quicker. Because if this was like a real company, for example, would say 20,000 employees, the first command we ran, that would give us 20,000 results, right? So you would probably want to filter down for something for like admin or administrator, or like, you know, roles that you know that would have these types of privileges that you're looking for, and that way you reduce the amount of results you get for your queries. But yeah, so we got like 6 or 7 results now, which is good. And yeah, so we're looking at backup where, and we can see that it has its password stored in one of the fields. And they redacted it, but we could see it here if we go. So right here, right, this is the password that's stored in the office location field. For some reason, very unsmart of them to do that. And by the way, notate this down, because this is an answer to the first question. The first question is, what is the password for the backup where user? So go ahead and copy this, note it down so you can put it in later and you don't have to come back and do it, the query again. But we'll carry on. So now what we're going to do is we're going to look at the groups. So when Glitch saw this one, he immediately thought it could be the first step taken by the intruder to gain further access inside the tenant. However, he decided to continue the initial reconnaissance of users and groups. Now let's continue by listing the groups. So it's going to be the same command, but instead of user, we're going to do groups. So az ad group list. Boom, we got all the groups in the tenant right now. Let's see if any of these stand out here. Oh, here we go. Secret recovery group. Oh, so this is just one group. It's the secret recovery group. And it's private. Cool. So we gotta take a deeper dive into that for sure. So yeah, it can be seen that the group is named Secret Recovery Group. It exists. This is kind of an interesting group because of the description. So let's follow the white rabbit and list the members of this group. So where's the description? Oh, here we go. Group for recovering Wareville secrets. Yeah, that would definitely trigger a flag in my head as well. So let's see. All right, we're gonna be using this big long command. So we'll do az ad group member list, and we want to specify the group. So it was called secret recovery group. And then I think there's a list at the end. Oh no, we did it before. Okay, let me remove this. And I spelled group wrong. Yeah, spelling is important, guys, so make sure you're paying attention. Alright, so let's go ahead and run that. And boom. So backupware is the only member in this group. So that's interesting, right? Because Glitch was thinking, hey, backupware seems kind of suspicious because all the other users don't have a password in that same field. And so we can kind of confirm that here, seeing that backupware is the only person in this group, the secret recovery group. So that is a pretty interesting. What is the group ID? Before we move on, let me see here. So you're gonna want to notate this down here, the ID of the secret recovery group, because it is an answer to the second question. Second question is, what is the group ID of the secret recovery group. So go ahead and copy this over, put it down in your notes, and we'll be able to enter that later. He is a graph user, which is interesting. So backup where, this is his ID, got the password. All right, so let's continue on. So given the previous output, it looks like everything makes a little sense now. All of the previous commands seem to point to backup where account. Since we have seen a potential set of credentials, let's jump to another user by clearing the current Azure CLI account session and logging in with the new account. Okay. So what we're gonna do now is log in as backupware. So we're gonna go ahead and do that. So what I'm gonna do, copy this, because this is gonna be the email login we're gonna be using. And then copy his password. All right, and then the command to log in is gonna be first we'll do clear to clear our screen, which will be a account login. I believe that's the end. AZ login, okay. AZ login -u is going to be, paste that in, and then we're gonna have a password of what we copied over, then we're gonna enter. So it's saying authentication with username and password in the command line is strongly discouraged. Yeah, so just saying this is insecure. So boom, we get here our output. Type user, cool. So since account belongs to an interesting group, the glitch's first hunch is to see whether sensitive or privileged roles are assigned to the group. And his thought was it doesn't make sense to him to name it like this if it can't do anything, right? But before checking the assigned roles, let's have a quick run through the Azure role assignments. There's a couple different ways you can assign roles in Azure. One of them is directly assigning them to the user. Another way is through inheritance by being in a certain group. And then there's predefined roles inside Azure. Or you can actually create custom roles with customized permissions and all this stuff and access and all that stuff. What it's saying here is we're checking to see what kind of permissions and what role this user has been assigned in the tenant, and that will clue us into what exactly the role can do, backup where we're talking about here. So this is important because you don't necessarily have to be global administrator in Azure. That's like the highest role you can have. You basically can do anything on the tenant that you want. You don't technically need to have that role to do a lot of nefarious things like create users or change services or do all these kinds of malicious things, exfil data. You don't necessarily need the highest role, and most of the time you wouldn't want it because then it would just be kind of a really big red flag. Because if you have two global administrators, like Azure is gonna be like, what's going on here? I'm gonna go back here and get the ID for the group, secret recovery group, because we're going to need it for this command. And then we're going to do AZ role assignment list, AZ role assignment list, assignee, and then we're going to put that, and then we're going to do boom, run that. All right, and we get some output here. Role definition name, so keybvault reader is one role, and we also have keybvault secrets user. Okay, so this group has two keybvault roles, so they can read it, and then they are actually a user in the keybvaults as well, which most likely means that they can edit and add things to the keybvault. So let's confirm if we are right. So you may retrieve the group ID from the command. Yeah, that's what we did. The output seems slightly overwhelming. Let's break it down. So There's a couple key points we're going to be looking at here. We're going to be looking at the role definition name, which we just did, which we saw was keybvault reader and keybvault secret user. And then they both have the same scope value, Wareville secrets vault. So let's actually go see that scope. Yeah, right here. Okay, so yeah, right here, vaults, Wareville secrets. And then up here, it's there as well. And this is the answer to the third question. So what we can do is just copy this whole thing over, put it in your notes, make sure you got it for later. If not, you can always rerun the command at the end, but we will need this for the third answer. So moving on, and it actually tells us what these roles do. So key vault reader, you can read the metadata of the key vaults and certificates, keys, and secrets. So we can actually see all that stuff in there. Key vault user, we can read the secret contents, which is passwords and API keys and everything that's supposed to be kept secret. And then it only works for key vaults that use the Azure role-based access control. So RBAC for short. Pretty much what we expected, right? Like he's able to view all the secrets in the key vault. So after seeing both of these roles, McSkitty immediately realized everything. This configuration allowed the attacker to access the sensitive data they were protecting. Now that she knew this, she asked the glitch to confirm her assumption. So we're going to confirm her assumption. So we're going to do AZ key vault list, and then we should see the Wareville secret vaults there. There it is. It is in the East US. It is called Wareville Secrets. The resource group is that, and this is the type, so it's a vault. So pretty straightforward. And then we're going to do this right here. So we'll just copy that. What this command is doing is we're looking at all the key vaults. We're looking at the secrets. We're going to list them out, and then we're going to specify the vault that we want to look at the secrets in. So let's go here. And remember, since we logged into backupware, we are able to view this, right? If we were just our regular user, we would not be able to view the contents of this, the secret contents of this vault. So here we go. We got, well, I guess we got this. And we see actually the ID here is secrets AOC 2020. So actually we're gonna wanna copy this over, because this is the answer to the third question here, because it asks us what is the name of the vault secret, and this is the name here, because this is the name of the secret in the vault, which is secrets AOC 2024. But going back, so yeah, we confirmed that the reader role allows us to view the key vault metadata, specifically the list of key vaults and secrets. Now the only thing left to confirm is whether the current user can access the contents of the discovered secret with the key vault secret user's role. This can be done by executing the following command. So what we're going to do here is we're going to see if we can actually see the secret contents of this secret, because right here we're just seeing the metadata, not really what's inside of it. So what we got to do is copy this, and where it says name, we're going to replace it with AOC 2024, because we got to specify the name of the secret we want to show. So we'll hit that, and boom. So if we go up to the previous one, we just have some metadata, and then down here we can see that it did actually show us the value of the secret. So it's where is my mind 1999, and that is the answer to the fourth question as well. So go ahead and copy that over, and that's it for the investigation, guys. So that was more like a intro to Azure, kind of showing you around the Cloud Shell and what you can do with it, how you can enumerate users, groups, key vault secrets, looking at roles for specific users. So super important stuff, especially if you're in like a security analyst or cloud security analyst role. It's going to be important for that, because most of the time you're going to be doing this kind of stuff. You're going to need to know how to navigate the cloud architecture that your company is working with, if you are working with the cloud. But yeah, so what we'll do is we'll go ahead and read the ending here. Bingo, the glitch exclaimed. As he saw the output above, McSkitty had confirmed her nightmare that a regular user could escalate their way into the secrets of Wareville. With that, the glitch had helped McSkitty to find the attack path that had been taken to escalate a user's privileges, and a lot had been learned in the process. The only question that remained was who had initially carried out the attack in the first place. There was a very limited set of wares who had access to this tenant, and with user visibility, and with that set of permissions. Only town officials who perform governance validation on the tenant, that's the key right there, town officials, ensure all the town's secrets are being stored securely. The focus then turns to the motive. The only thing accessed was an access key stored in the key vault, which grants access to an evidence file stored elsewhere. The evidence in this file was in relation to recent cyber events this month in Wareville. We'll have to keep our eyes peeled in the following days to get to the bottom of this. So, we've made it halfway through. We know malware is the enemy of the state right now. But yeah, so to recap, pretty much went through Azure, got introduced to a few key terms, what a key vault is, what it stores, what a CLI is, Azure CLI and Azure Cloud Shell do, and then we had some experience using commands to enumerate users, groups, group roles, and then the vault key vaults, and then also being able to log in and see the role assignment for a specific user. So pretty cool stuff overall today. For me, it's more of a review, but for you guys, if you learned something new, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and share with a friend. I'll appreciate that. Anyways, you guys are awesome. Stay cool. This is Cyber Sensei Aaron out. Peace.